Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me well. And let me say good afternoon to all our participants that are connected from China, and good morning to our speakers. Welcome to this webinar. Today, we're going to talk about the European Research Council and the grants that are offered by the European Research Council. We're gonna do so with three fantastic speakers, and I'm going to be your moderator for today. So let me just share my screen. I'm going to provide you with a quick introduction, and then we will move to the topic of today's webinar. So as people are still connected, let me just quickly start. So today we're going to have three speakers. They're going to talk us through different topics related to the European Research Grants. Those of you who are familiar with the ERC China and who followed our other activities probably already joined our webinars last year, where we talked more in details about what the grants are, who is eligible, and how the funding works. Today, we're focusing on a little bit different topics, and we're going to do so with Dr. Wei CAO. Welcome. We're going to hear his own personal experience as a recipient of an ERC grant. We're going to also have Dominik Maas with us. He's a national contact point for the ERC, so he will tell us a little bit of the activities they organize and the role they can play in supporting the applicants to this kind of grants. And we also have with us Caroline Angeli, who is from a host institution. Hello, Caroline. And she will tell us a little bit of what the European host institutions can do in terms of supporting applicants, administrative support, and the different services that they offer. So before giving them the floor, let me just go quickly through the agenda. We only have 1 hour, so I'll try to be fast myself, and also I'll make sure that we stick to the time that is allowed to all the speakers. So we are gonna have possibly a little bit of a longer Q&A session. So we start by hearing the experience of Dr. Wei CAO. Then we continue with Caroline. Dominik is going to be the last one. And finally, we're going to have the Q&A session. You are welcome to ask questions during any of the presentation, and you can do so through the chat box. So when you have adopted question and anything that arises in your mind, please send a message in the chat box. We will collect all your questions, and then we will read them to the speakers during the final Q&A session. Let me also add that Wei CAO is a Chinese national, so he speaks very well Chinese. So we also allow you to ask questions in Chinese. Actually, not only to him, but also to the other speakers, because we have with us our Vanessa Lee, who is going to help us with the translation. So even if you don't feel super comfortable asking in English, please don't refrain yourself from doing so. Just type in Chinese. We're going to take care of the translation. So before moving to the topic of the webinar, I just want to spend a few words to briefly tell you who I am and what I do. I'm Anna Facchinetti. I'm country coordinator of ERC in China. I'm here with two colleagues of mine, Halderberg, who is country coordinator with me, and Vanessa Lee, who I just mentioned. ERC has been in China with the China Hub in Beijing since 2009. And what we do is mainly working with researchers that are in China, Chinese researchers and also Europeans. So we help them finding information to find opportunities and to move to Europe. We promote opportunities for researchers such as the ERC grants or the Marie Curie fellowships and many other opportunities that are offered both by the European Commission, but also by the EU member states and associated countries. So we are really talking about a large number of different countries and different opportunities. We also try to create opportunities for you to network both online and physically when possible, to find new research partners, and to explore the research and to meet the research community that is active in China. If you don't do, if you're not following us yet, you can do so also by joining our WeChat channel, by scanning the QR code that you see in my slide, and subscribe to our newsletter, china.eraccess.org. Finally, we also created a WeChat group chat that is specific to this webinar. So this is going to be a good way for you to send us further questions that you might have after the end of the webinar. Stay in touch. We also normally share the PowerPoint presentations and the recording of this webinar after the event, and any other information that could be of interest to ERC applicants for the events that we might have. And it's a good way in general to stay in touch. So I don't want to take any more time. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to welcome once more Wei CAO, and I ask you to please take the floor and start with our webinar today.
Okay, thank you. And I'm trying to get shared with my screen. Just a moment, please. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen and we hear you well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. And this is Wei CAO from University of Oulu, Finland. It's my great pleasure to attend such kind of event. And thank you for this kind of nice organizing this event. Okay, what I'm going to tell is that my journey to the ERC Consolidator. My application experience has the following, let's say, small frames of subsections. The first thing is that I was trying to understand the funding scheme and myself. There are some Chinese themes below each of the points, so you can read there. And second thing is that I'm going to tell you how I prepared, how myself was prepared, how I prepared the application. The third one is that how I made this kind of self-evaluation, indeed peer reviews and self-reviews. The last point is that the interview and a few tips of the interview according to my own experience. My understanding of the ERC Consolidated grant, because that time in the year 2019, I was applying this grant. I read all the instructions from the ERC website, and it said that it is a bottom-up basis. And it emphasized on a groundbreaking nature, ambition, and feasibility. Also, it supports the excellent researcher at the career stage, and it consolidated their own independent research team. At that time, when I read such kind of general guidelines, and I was very confused. And the project, if we consider project as a rocket, and I need to look for the sky or to the universe, but indeed, what I could see that time is only on the ground. I feel a bit sad and also a bit clueless. But then I start to look very carefully of each word of the instruction. And it reads like this. It is a bottom-up basis without predetermination priorities, but it should have a solid ground or reasons. And then I start to make my own interpretation of this kind of rule. Can we think in another topic wide, like, can we get back to the future? Well, it's a movie. And can we solve some critical question has been already assumed for for many, many years? Can we also try to make a big engineering work? And or can we break the bottleneck of a quite critical issue? And then I also try to understand what means the great groundbreaking nature, ambition, and feasibility. So it means all aspects should be scientifically sound and correct. And a groundbreaking nature, in my opinion, refers to a scientific stream or mention on its originality. We are not only creating such kind of trend, and we are going also to lead this scientific trend. And then, but all this kind of thing, if we compose or if we get the idea, they're ready. And I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to do next is try to propose a feasible route, and also this kind of route based on my personal achievement, prior art, and what I'm going to do in my proposal. And then again, I need to understand that am I the right person to apply such kind of grant? Apparently, I was not the best scientist in my domain, but I think, at least at the time, I thought I was the person who should fit well on the proposal I'm going to write. And also, we are really more careful that it is the excellent researcher at the career stage. So it means consolidated grant is slightly different from, for example, the starting grant or the advanced grant, because the starting grant is mainly for the academically young fellows, and the advanced grant is for well-established researcher. So that time, I got my own confidence to tell myself that maybe, or most probably, I'm the person to apply this kind of ERC Consolidated grant. Okay, this is the evaluation made by myself. Then I started to make additional self-evaluation, because all the grants, all the proposals is based on my own experience and my research. I got my PhD in 2010 in the atomic physics domain, and afterwards I made the postdoc in chemistry. I again postdoc back to physics, but more applied side. And then I made the senior researcher fellow in University of Oulu, and have done so many things, and got my professorship, tenure track professorship, and in 2019. And then 2020 is the year I should put my application into the application system. And again, I started trying to see what I have done during my career. And then I know atomic physics, I know metrology, and I know the applied spectroscopy. This was the very fundamental basis of my research activity. But during my period of the senior research fellow and also postdoc time, and I have done many things in the material physics and covering engineering and the catalytic side. And I made the collaborations within computational and also process engineering. And then I have done many things, research within solid-driven materials. At the time of applying such kind of grant, and I was an associate professor who is trying to understand the steel for sustainability. Well, the first impression given by myself is that it's quite a big mess and quite a big disorder. So I was totally puzzled. But then I tried to extract all the keywords of what I'm doing or what I have done. And so I know atomic physics, the dimensional-wise speaking, atoms are 0 dimension. And I also know the needs of chemical synthesis, different characterization methods, and aiming for photocatalysis. And then I know also a bit system engineering. And then final aim is for the sustainability. Then the keywords started to lead to the proposal name called CATCH. It's cross-dimensional activation of 2-dimensional semiconductors for photocatalytic heterojunctions. Okay, so this is the thing which I get a rough idea in my brain. And then once I have this rough idea, I start to build up the scheme. The scheme looked like this. So first, I was a physicist, and I'm still a physicist. And then I needed to originate my work from pure physics and slightly build up. For example, electronic structure, light-matter interaction is still within the physics, this general scheme. And then charge flow chemical reactions already get to the chemistry side. Material performance start to be the material science. When I draw such kind of pyramid, and immediately a Chinese saying gets to my mind. It is like this: a 9-floor platform starts from accumulating clays. And it is a system, it's a systematic work. It's a systematic work. Then I was trying to shoot for the right panel of my application, and I found the panel P8, and more specifically P808 have this kind of keywords. Okay, So I made the self-evaluation and I draw the scheme of my proposal, and I also know more or less I'm trying to propose, and then I start to make the preparation of my grant. Preparation, I would this is my personal experience, and I would like to leave enough time, but not excessive time. And what it means enough and not excessive is that there is an intensive preparation period, and for me it was roughly 1.5 months before deadline, and it should not interrupt my daily work. And then the general attitude, in my opinion, is quite important. I consider this kind of preparation is an enjoyment because I can review my previous works and also plan myself for the future. It's not a burden at all. And once I hold this kind of enjoying in this kind of attitudes, and then the words will be different because our words have emotions, and the reader can see how we, what kind of attitude we were holding during the time of writing. Afterwards, I make the sketch, the frame, and the methodology, and afterwards start to fill the fresh, like each bullet, and also try to make the content in the way that it will be readable. And then when I start to draft the part B1, I hold the opinion that it should be very condensed and generic, but it must be scientific sound and precise. I was trying to avoid to use some kind of well-knowns because something one knows, the other person may not know. And the part B2, it have to be crystal clear on each step because details matter. And the words, terminologies, and illustrations have to be accurate in the part B2. Once I made this more or less ready, and I also hold the opinion that I should respect the readers and reviewers, because not everyone are the top expert as our reviewer, but they definitely are the top expert in some domain. So we need to have the professional and also generic understandings of our proposal. And the proposal needs to be clear and direct. So there should be no guesses or blurry items inside. Once the first draft is more or less ready, and I made the peer review and self-review. Peer review here doesn't refer to the case that I invite someone to read my proposal. Instead, I'm trying to follow the review guideline as given by the ERC and to understand that what kind of items of key words the evaluators are looking for within my proposal. And also I try to think how my proposal can be liked or disliked. This is the peer review, indeed following the general guideline given by the ERC. And afterwards that I made the self-reviews, I frequently ask myself the questions like follows. Am I convinced by myself? So do I understand what I have written? And did I highlight all the shining points that can catch the reader's eye immediately? Are the contents too wordy or too simple? Figures are important. Are the figures given the key information and also supported by the text I'm writing? Do my colleagues, especially the internal funding specialists, understand what I'm writing about? And another tip is that what I'm proud of the proposal and what I'm scared about. So the proposal, the proud side, it means the shiny part, and the scared part, it means something that the risks which should be mitigated. And finally, are the content logically connected or not? Well, afterwards, after throwing the proposal to the web portal, and it's time to wait. When I got the information that I was invited for the interview, I started to prepare myself. And I also try to utilize the internal services. For example, this is given by the host institute and also personal services. Personal service means that I try to practice my my talk at home or at different occasions. rehearsals are important. So I've made many rehearsals. And when I went to the interview, and before that, in the slide before that, I hold the attitude that I must be very humble and also confident. I'm open to all the questions from the panelists. And because I know these questions are important and will be very good for my proposal itself, but I'm still thinking I'm the one regarding the works I proposed. Before I get to the room of interview, and I smiled to myself. I told myself that don't worry, be happy. It's a party. Because I cherish the chance of being interviewed. I cherish to meet the people, and I cherish the chance to discuss with the top expert in my domain. The same here, I cherish this event, and I thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Wei CAO. It was very interesting, and I really appreciated that you also, mentioned very down-to-earth practical tips. And I think, that the attitude that you also talk about, like having a positive attitude, and while thinking that the interview is a party, that's definitely a successful way of approaching it. So thanks a lot for sharing your experience. And we will collect, as I said, the questions during the presentations, and we ask all of them at the end of the presentations. So let me proceed with our next speaker without hesitations. So I give the floor to Caroline Angeli.
Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to present you the role of the host institution and how can a host institution help you in your application process to ERC. First of all, I'm going to just say a few words on the role of the host institution in the frame of the ERC projects and ERC applications. ERC funds individual fellowships given to researchers, which are these grants are evaluated on the excellence criteria of the project and of the scientific profile you have. But this project is going to be hosted in a host institution, which is going to employ you and your team and host your project. This host institution must be located in a European country or in an associated country. At the proposal stage, you must have already identified your host institution, as it is mandatory that your project is linked to a host institution. The IT system tool works needs to have a host institution so the proposal can be submitted. And you also need to have a host support letter signed at the time of submission. This is a list of commitments which are provided by the ERC agency. It's a template that is signed by the host institution legal representative. So if you are thinking to apply to ERC, you're going to start to think to your project, but you must also think to the host institution that is going to welcome you, your team, your project. The thing that must be help you to identify the best host institution is that the host institution must be the best fitted to implement your specific ERC project. And then you will need to enter into contact with this host institution, and the soonest is the best. And it is the way to contact the host institution is the usual way you can contact you can contact colleagues in the frame of a collaborative project. So you must identify the potential host that can welcome you, and then you can enter into contact with researchers. And these researchers will know, if first of all, if they agree, then they will know how contact the legal representative, so you are officially supported by the host institution. Now I'm going to present you how this host institution can help you. and I'm going to present the case of the CNRS. I work at the CNRS. I'm an EU officer at the CNRS in the southwest of France. And I will tell you a few words on what CNRS is. So CNRS is a French governmental institution under the responsibility of the French Ministry of Research. Its aim is to implement all kinds of research in all kinds of domains, and we have center mainly on fundamental research, even if we are also working on more applicative science. We are quite a big organization in France. In fact, we are the biggest research organism in France. We are involved in more than 1,000 laboratories throughout France. And we are 33,000 people. Half of them are researchers, tenure researchers. We carry out research in all the fields of knowledge, and here you have the main item, the main institute for CNRS. So you can see the whole frame of research we are implementing. And as we are a research organization, which first mission is to implement fundamental research, ERC grants are quite important for us. So we work a lot to help researchers, tenure and non-tenure, to apply to ERC grants, and it allows us to have more than 50,000 ERC grants during the Horizon 2020 period. And in fact, we were the first institution to benefit from the ERC grants. And of course, we're happy with this, and we are trying to maintain this rank in Horizon Europe. So we organize ourselves to support the ERC applicants the best we can. And I'm going to present you the CNRS support. I try to make this presentation keeping in mind all the different steps where you will be when preparing an ERC application. So the very first step is to get information, what you're doing right now. And the host institution usually provide also information on the ERC funding scheme, either because they are organizing internal information meetings or because they are giving you access to national ERC funding meeting, so you can have the whole all the information from this on ERC. Then, because we have lots of ERC grantees, we also organize feedbacks from ERC grantees, and we are trying to organize feedbacks on a panel point of view, meaning that if you are applying in PE8, like we are going to look for people who already succeed in this very panel PE8. And we also can organize training, proposal training, and after, if you go to the step 2, we organize mock interview, which are very important for the audition. The person who are working on these different matters are CNRS EU officer when I'm speaking about information, ERC grantees, and ERC scientists, and scientists from CNRS, from our labs, are going to act on these different items. Then you are going to think to the project, how you're going to conceive your project. Before starting writing, there is a lot of things to do. And on this point, you can discuss your project idea, the methodology, the environment you will need with us and with our scientists, with our grantees. And during the project writing itself, we will give you advice on the proposal writing. One of the key success of the ERC is the proofreading of the two parts of the ERC proposal. The first part will be read by generalists. The second part will be read by generalists and specialists. So you must proofread, you must ask colleagues to read your proposal so it is well understood, well analyzed, well evaluated by researchers. On a more administrative point of view, CNRS EU officer will check your eligibility. Mainly, it's to check in which category of grant you can apply. And if you must pay attention that from this year, the reference date to evaluate the eligibility window for the starting and consolidator grant are now the date of the successful defense of your PhD. We will fill the administrative form online with you, estimate your project budget according our rule and the EU rule, analyze if any ethic and security aspects and help you to fill the dedicated section in the form, sign the host institution letter, which is mandatory, coach you because you need to be you need coaching in general to have the B1 and B2 ready to allow proofreading. So we are having an eye on that. And organize mock interview at the second evaluation step. If the proposal is retained, we're still, of course, supporting you through the management of the grant, supporting you when it comes to the financial reporting, and give you any advice you will need during your project implementation. So that's it for my presentation, and I must stress that it is the CNRS presentation for the support ERC applicants. Today, throughout Europe, most of the host institutions offer the same kind of assistance. And if they are not so specialized that we can have that we can be at CNRS, they will have the help from the national contact points. And so Dominik Maas is going to present the help of the national contact points.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Caroline. I think there's really a large pool of services offered to ERC applicants during this selection and even afterwards. So let's continue with Dominik so he can tell us a little bit of what the national contact points can do for ERC applicants. Dominik, I'll leave you the floor.
Yes. Thank you, Caroline, for the presentation of the host institution services. And I'm now going to present you the services of the national contact point. I hope you can all see my slides now.
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. All right. So, well, yes, my name is Dominik Maas. I'm working for the national contact point for the European Research Council, ERC, in Germany. And I'm very delighted to give you a very brief overview of the services and tasks of a national contact point on the example of the NCP ERC here in Germany. So national contact points are actually officially accredited by the European Commission. And in case of Germany, they are financed by the federal government, concretely by the Federal Ministry for Education and Research here in Germany. And in Germany, it's a joint venture actually between this federal ministry and the COVI, the EU Liaison Office of the German Research Organizations, which is funded by the German Research Foundation. Well, what are we doing as experts in the respective specialist program committees? We are providing actually technical input in the discussion, for example, of the work programs towards the Commission. But NCPs are also experts in the respective thematic area or program. Currently in Germany, we have more than 120 people working in the NCP network. Towards on the researchers side, so to say, we support researchers in submitting applications and implementing projects. We offer advisory services which are free of charge and of course confidential. And you can reach actually the national contact points by phone, by email, and also meet us at various on-site events that we are offering. So in case you need any support for the application or for the implementation of an Horizon Europe project, you can always refer to the respective national contact point of the host country where you want to go to in Europe. In Germany, we have at the moment 70 national contact points, and they are national contact points actually for all program parts of the EU framework program. So you see here a schematic overview of the current Horizon Europe framework program. And in addition, we also have a national contact point coordination office and an NCP for legal and financial aspects. In addition, there are contact points for so-called cross-cutting issues such as gender, European partnerships, synergies in research, innovation with other EU programs, transfer of knowledge, IPR, ethics, and so on and so forth. Sorry, that was the slide I wanted to show you. Here's also a link to the overview of the advisory network that we offer here in Germany. So what are we doing concretely? We support PIs from Germany or PIs that want to come to Germany doing an ERC-funded research project in Germany. We advise on the different funding schemes the ERC is offering, and especially also we advise on which kind of funding scheme is the most suitable for the applicant. We are advising during the application process, as I just mentioned, which means most of all that we proofread applications. That is what Caroline Angeli already mentioned. So we are also doing this. Just to give an example, in 2021, we read around 270 ERC proposals. And we had many more discussions on phone or via online consultation meetings with applicants. So we are really supporting PIs with preparing and conducting their projects. We're also informing about, of course, the ERC and what the ERC is doing, all the political events and so on. Online, but also in on-site events. Of course, in pre-corona times, we were traveling quite a lot all over Germany, and we hope to come also more and more back to these on-site events and meetings. We are also, that's also what was already mentioned, we are also preparing for this interview part of the ERC application procedure, which means we're offering so-called interview trainings, events, well, we provide applicants with the latest information on calls and applications, and offer a news section on our website, but also in our newsletter that we distribute. So we are actually planning to send out a monthly newsletter. 2021, we have
Dominik, I think you muted yourself. We cannot hear you anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, now you're back, just for a few seconds.
Okay, sorry, that was a mistake. So where did you lose me? I'm actually coming back to the information that we provide. So we are sending out newsletters actually on a monthly basis, and we have a news section on our website. Yes, and well, here you have you have the link to our website. This is actually the front page of our website of the NCP here in Germany. So if you are interested in applying with an ERC grant with the German host institution, you are very welcome to get in touch with us, of course. But as was already also mentioned, these national contact points are offered on the basis of each member state in the EU, and also for several other non-European countries. So always get in touch with the NCP of the country of your potential host institution to where you want to go to. Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy to take any questions that are arising. Sorry for muting myself. It was, was a mistake.
No, thank you to you, Dominik. It was an interesting presentation, and I think there's really a lot of services provided by NCPs in different countries that the researchers can take advantage of. So it's really, you know, good information to know if you're applying for an ERC grant. So we have received some questions. I invite the audience to ask other questions. If you have, do that in Chinese and in English. And before I take the first one, let me just share my screen super quickly, because I want to invite everybody, and I would like to do it now before someone disconnects, to take a quick survey. It's about the webinar, if the information provided was enough. So we have a quick feedback. It takes you literally 1 minute. So please, you can scan the QR code, or there's the link also in my slide. Take this survey and give us feedback so we can do better for you for the next time. Okay, so let me go back to the questions. We have, I think first we received a question that is directly to Wei. It's a question about the interview. So after you go through the first stage, this person is asking how long is normally the interview, meaning your presentation plus the questions, and also a bit specific probably, like how many experts are normally in the panel, in the audience, asking you questions during the interview for an ERC grant. Can you give some insights about that?
Yeah, thank you for your question. Well, I learned that the interview section is different from year to year. And in my year, it was 2 minutes plus 80 minutes, if my memory is correct. And 2 minutes is that self-illustration of the project, and 80 minutes of question and answers section. I don't remember by heart how many experts was involved into my this kind of interview, but I think at least 4 or 5, and if my memory is correct, 4 or 5, and then there are some people who can ask a bit more, and some people who ask a bit less. It also depends on different panels, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess the question is also hard to answer to, because it's very specific your topic, and then therefore which kind of experts that they're going to appoint to evaluate you. Anyway, thanks a lot. That at least gives an idea. Dominik, you would like to add something?
Yes, so,
I thought you were, please.
Just to add, yeah, as Wei, as you said, it really depends also on the panel. So actually each panel can construct the interview phase or the interview by itself. And we have always an interview, a presentation phase where you present your project. There you have, well, time between. The shortest that I've seen were about 3 minutes only, so very short presentations. And I think the longest are not more than 10 minutes, I would say, followed by a Q&A session. And actually, you can expect that the whole panel participates in this interview. So you can really expect to have up to 20 or more persons sitting in the room. In former times, the interviews were done on site in Brussels. Now they're only done remotely via WebEx meetings, but also there you can expect to talk to an audience of about 20 people. Yeah, so not all of them are asking questions. Of course, I think it's mostly 3 to 4 people, as Wei you just said. But of course, all the others are listening, and at the end, the vote is taken together, yeah, by the whole panel.
Thanks for adding on this. Please, Caroline.
Yeah, just to say, don't focus too much on the audition, because if you go to the second step and that you have the audition, you will have lots of training from your host institution. So for now, I think it's more, what is the project? Focus on the project for now, I would say.
Okay, you will have time to prepare. Yeah, for the next step. And anyway, follow Wei's approach. It's a party. So if you have 20 people in the panel, it's gonna be funnier. Okay, let me go on. This question: is it possible to apply for an ERC Consolidator grant in a European host institution, even if we are currently working in China at a Chinese institution? Who would like to take that?
Maybe Dominik.
Well,
yes, it's possible. Wait, yeah, go on.
Of course, yeah, it's possible, yeah. So always just get in touch with, for example, the host institution or the national contact point in the country where you want to go to, and then you can, of course, also apply, still being based in China.
Okay.
Yeah. Proposal everything, you will have to go to Europe to implement your project, and you will be engaged by the host institution.
Exactly. So at the moment the project starts, so to say, you have to be then in Europe, and you have to be engaged by the host institution.
Thank you. We also have another couple of questions that I think are related to this point. But Halder raised his hand, so maybe I'll let him talk first. Is it related to the topic?
I just thought, yeah, exactly. I just thought I might, because this is the most common question, I think, from we've done this ERC webinars 3 or 4 times. But first of all, before I'm Halder Berg, I'm the colleague of Anna. So I just want to say that today's webinar was really useful, because there was actually a lot of practical things that you can take advantage of from what was being said today, but we did not really go into the most fundamental basic stuff. And if you want to learn about that, we have a lot of we have webinars on our website you can find about it. But maybe the most basic thing that you need to realize is that it's such a big funding. We're talking about 1 to 2.5 million euros even for the advanced grants. So it's a really big, substantial grant that we're talking about. And the way it works, that you have one host institution and you have one researcher, that principal investigator, that apply together, and the relationship is that you are hired by the host institution. And so people ask me, if I'm working here in China, can I actually apply for this? It's open for people all over the world, but if you get the grant, you need to find a host somewhere in the European research area to work with. And this is what Caroline was trying to discuss earlier. Then you are basically working for them, but there's like the way it works is that if you want to go somewhere else, for example, you control the money, but then you need to find another host institution, and again you need to start working for them if you take the money somewhere else. Then the final point I wanted to point out is that you need to work at least 50% of the time for the project. So this is like a really important point that you need to realize. When you're applying, you could keep affiliation with the Chinese institution, but clearly you need to make sure when you're applying in your application, in your that is clear that you're going to give it energy, like you're going to be focusing on this, because otherwise if it's like a minor thing for you or whatever, you will not be getting it or whatever. But it does not require more than 50% of your time. So you could theoretically keep two affiliations. I see that Dominik has a point.
No, thank you. I just want to add to that, Hala. I think that was very helpful. I think the most important thing is not only the commitment that you have to spend on the project, because this becomes even less and less the far you advance, so to say, but you also have to bear in mind that you have to spend 50% of the overall working time in Europe. Yeah, and I think that's the even more important point. So as you said, Hala, of course you can keep your links to China, yeah, and you can also travel to China during the ERC project, but you have to spend at least 50% of the overall project time in Europe, so which means basically at your European host institution where you are engaged. That's just what I wanted to add here.
Yeah, no, thank you very much to both of you, because that added the important points, and I think that's also a reply to the related questions, because there's always people worried if they can't go back to China, they need to quit their job. So I think that explains a lot about it. Okay, so I'll move on with a different topic. It's also questions that we get all the time these days, and it's about UK institutions, if they're still eligible to be host institutions for the ERC grant. So let me reply to this, but if any of you would like to add, please feel welcome. So at the moment, UK institutions are still eligible, meaning that you can apply for an ERC grant together with the host institutions based in the UK, as the UK is still considered in the process of getting associated. But we cannot assure that that is going to be the case when you actually sign. So it's really a little bit of a question mark, is when you are selected, the UK is going to be associated and things will go smooth, or if it won't be associated, and then at that point, then it's not going to be possible to get your grant. So the current situation is UK is being associated. You can apply with a host institution in the UK, but we still have some question mark. Any further comment from our speakers? Halder, please.
Yeah, I just also want to point it out that the UKRI has given a guarantee to people that are applying for Horizon Europe projects to get something similar. It's not gonna that if things go badly, which they're not supposed to go, but if you're in the position that you got an ERC, you got accepted for an ERC grant with a UK host institution, but they haven't figured out the arrangement yet, there's something called the Horizon Europe guarantee on the UK side to make sure that you will not suffer, but it's not going to be an ERC grant, and it's going to be something similar, I guess. So I can post the link to that announcement in the chat for you guys if you want to take a look. If you have a UK colleague you want to apply for the ERC grant with, it's obviously really good if you can study this a little bit.
And for John Chuang, who's asking if it's going to be possible to apply at the with the UK university in 2023 or 2024, that depends on how the process of association will continue. Okay, let's move on. We have a question addressed to Caroline, and this person is asking if there's any calls for proposals in the CNRS for applying for ERC grants. So the idea of this person is that he or she would contact the group who is ready to support a PI.
No, there is no call system to decide on who we are going to support or not. First of all, the first step is for you to find the best team to implement your project, because they are well known in the domain of the project, because they offer the rightful environment for your project and for you. And then you should contact the teams or the lab where you want to go, present your project, present yourself, and if they agree to welcome you, then they will start the internal process to ask the CNRS headquarters if they would agree to support your project. So it's not a call system, it's more a case-by-case basis system. And you should be aware that the time frame, it's better to start 1 year before, because it may take time, we never know. But and also when you are going to design your project, you may also modify the design of the project, take into consideration the local expertise you can benefit for your project.
Thank you, Caroline. I think that explained well. Another question from someone who is asking, again, regarding the host institution. So like, would it be possible for 2 different departments in the same university to serve as co-hosts for interdisciplinary project? I think that is not a problem, isn't it? Maybe, Caroline, did you understand my question? Would you be happy to reply?
Okay. The question is, can 2 research departments can host a project? Yes. Yeah. Well, there is this notion of host institution, which is a legal notion of a legal entity which is going to support the project, sign the letter of commitment, and then inside a host institution, you can have different departments which could welcome the project. If it's from the ERC point of view, it's okay, then you should discuss with the host institution to check if it's also okay for it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the answer. Again, a question about the percentage of time to be spent at the host institution. We said that it needs to be minimum 50%. Someone is asking, can it be 100%? Yes, well, of course.
For CNRS, we usually don't give this advice because it's very, when you're going to declare in the proposal that you're going to work 100% of the project, if the project is retained, ERC agency is going to monitor very carefully the time you are going to spend on the project. And from a practical point of view, it's rather difficult, even impossible, to spend 100% of your time only on research. There is always on the research of this very project. If your project is retained, you may be asked to participate to other projects, to other meetings that are not related to the project. So usually as a host institution, we advise our candidate to declare 80 or 90% of their time on the project, and we use the indirect cost to fund the remaining cost. And even more precisely, CNRS support the salary of the PI, but it depends on the host institution. If the host institution doesn't have a specific funding to pay for the PI salary, there are the indirect costs which allow to support the full salary on the project, even if you're not declared at 100%. I don't know if I am clear.
And I think that was clear. I think that was clear. And, so the short answer will be it's allowed, but it's basically like not recommended. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult during the project implementation.
Okay, and then we have a very general question that I think wasn't mean to be addressed in this webinar. There is someone who's asking about ERC grants in general, who is eligible, which kind of qualifications you need. And so let me just maybe tell you very, very generally that there's different kind of grants. There's no requirements in terms of nationality or in terms of a research area to apply. So they are really bottom-up kind of grants, and there are different grants according to different career stages and career experience. And we have a lot of resources online for you to take a look. On Your Access China, on the European Research Council website, you can take a look and see which kind of grant would work well for you. But this wasn't really the topic of this webinar, so I invite you to maybe to contact us later and to start looking at the online resources. I think we have one final question from Peng Liu. Who is asking, are the previous grants records important for the ERC starting grant? If I haven't managed any big grants yet, let's say more than 300,000 euros before, is that important or not? Would anyone like to comment on this?
Dominik, maybe?
Well, yes, of course. So your previous track record and your CV, they will be evaluated at the application stage, and it is important that you can show, especially for starting grant applicants, that you are on a career stage where you can independently lead a project in the size of the ERC starting grant. Yeah, so you must provide, you must convince the evaluators of your capacity to do so. So if you if you haven't had any previous own funding, well, I would say this is, of course, this would be a minus on the balance, so to say, but there are, of course, other aspects that you can show in your CV and track record to counterbalance this, for example. Yeah, maybe you have well, worked very independently already, published very independently already, and so on and so forth. So maybe to summarize, so especially in the starting grant application, it's really 50% project and 50% your background, your CV, your track record that will be evaluated, and that just have to fit together, so to say. Yeah, and it's really the big picture that will be looked at. Yeah? So, but especially here, if you're not sure of whether you are already in the career stage to apply or not, then well, it would be a perfect point in time to get in touch with us, with the national contact point, or with a host institution, maybe also for a first CV check. So at least we are offering this. If you want to come to Germany, you can just send us your CV, for example, your track record. We just have a look on that and to give you some feedback on that.
Great, thank you. I'm wondering if maybe Wei would like to also add something about that. At the beginning of your presentation, I remember you also talked about you know, self-assessment. Am I ready? I'm at the right time for applying. So I'm wondering if you have any comments, and we're about to close.
Well,
so.
Well, my idea is that we emphasize on this bottom-up and also the high innovative project. And then we need to, at least I will try to convince the evaluator that I'm the person who can do the works I'm proposing. And I believe my work is innovative. And this is my way of thinking. And how the evaluator see that the grant record, it is the evaluator's point of view. It's out of my control. So I just emphasize on myself and working, think on the best way that I can do for it. That's my comment.
Thank you. So I think we're gonna close on that, reminding everybody that ERC grants are for people from any nationality, any research area, just with groundbreaking and innovative ideas. And so it's time to close. I'm going to thank very much all our speakers of today. It was really great to have you with us. We wouldn't be able to provide all the information and nice talks that you did. And thanks to everybody for participating. If you join the Wechat group, we're going to share there the slides and the recording. Otherwise, you will also find them on our portal, the same page where you registered. And so everything is going to be online. You're welcome to contact us for any further question or any comments. And I'm going to put on the slide again with our survey and invite one last time everybody to please join and give us your feedback. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, I see people are leaving. I'm going to end the webinar. Thanks again, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.